Yeah, yeah. I always put Christ in the center.
First, I'm going to remove the oil that I placed on there before with alcohol. So I sprayed that and I wiped it. And now I'm using the nail prep from Mia Secret. This is a nail dehydrator and pH balancer. I'm going to apply 2 coats. So I let the first coat completely dry and then I come back and I do the second coat. So if I was doing a full set, which in this case I'm only doing 1 finger, but if I was doing a full set, I would go through and do all 10 fingers, come back to the first one, and then do my second coat. So now I'm going to take my nail form. I'm going to take the little piece out of the center where I place my finger, and I'm going to put that a little bit higher on the backing. That's going to add a little bit more structure to the actual nail form. So right here, I'm just giving it a nice little curve so that I don't have to crease it or anything, and it'll give me my C curve. I'm attaching the bottom 2 points and just sticking those together. That'll help me get my C curve. And my nail is a little bit too short for a nail form, so I'm extending it out slightly, and the product that I'm going to use is going to go in those little holes that you see on the sides there, so it's going to completely cover it. My hyponychium comes up really high on my nails, and also I cut my nails pretty short, so it's going to look a little bit not exactly underneath my nail, but you know, I did the best I could with what I had. My nails are just really short right here, so I'm placing the nail form on, and once it's in a place that I feel is sufficient, I'll go ahead and squeeze to make sure it's nice and tight. Once it feels comfortable, I'm going to go ahead and look down the side and make sure that it's nice and straight. It is. It comes straight out from my cuticle. You can see that it comes straight out from cuticle all the way to the tip of the nail form. So now I'm going to go ahead and place my base coat. I have gel base coat here, and I'm just putting that on my natural nail. I'm not putting it on the nail form. Then I'm going to put it in the light, and I'm going to cure that for 30 seconds. I did realize that I stopped recording by accident, so off camera I did apply builder gel. So I took the builder gel and I put it from my natural nail all the way out to the edge of the nail form, and I cured that for 30 seconds. So here I'm just removing the nail form, and you can see it's nice and shiny. I did not build the nail up because I'm going to encapsulate, so I made the nail very, very thin. So here I'm going to be mixing some colors together. This powder is acrylic powder that I'm using, and the color that I'm using is gel polish. So I'm mixing sculpting gel or builder gel, and I'm mixing the acrylic powder and gel polish together. Just keep in mind that when you add an acrylic powder to the mixture with your builder gel and your gel polish, you're going to end up with a little bit more of a grainy consistency. If you want something smoother, but you still want to use a powder to add your color in, you can use something like a dip powder. It's basically the same thing as acrylic powder, it's just a finer grain. Now I'm going to mix another color, so I'm grabbing my sculpting gel or my builder gel, and I'm adding the acrylic powder to it. So at this point, I realized that my color was a little bit too light and I wanted them to kind of blend a little bit better. So I decided to grab a little bit of the darker color and mix it in little by little until I reached the color that I was looking for. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my lighter color as my base, and I am going to begin the design. So you can just watch this portion. I'll chime in when I feel like I need to, but I'm just adding it to the bottom half of the nail just so that I have a good base to work off of. Now before I put this in the light, I'm going to clean up anything that I don't want to be cured onto my nail, and I'm going to cure that for another minute. Here is where I'm going to start my color blending. So I'm going to blend two colors together. It would technically be an ombre, but I'm taking the lighter color. I'm going to place it where I need my highest point of the line to be. And then I'm going to fade that down into the center of my natural nail. And then from the base up, I'm going to use a darker color. And then in the middle, I'm going to blend those two together. Now I'm going to put this in the light for another minute, and then I'm going to go ahead and do another layer. Right here, I noticed that I got a little something on my skin there. I caught it too late, so that means I did put it under the light already. So I'm going to grab my nippers, and I'm going to just shove one end of the nippers right underneath it and clip it off. As long as you aren't clipping the skin when you do that, you're totally fine to use nippers to get anything off of the skin. Here I'm just shaping up the nail with a 120 grit cushion file just to get my shape nice and neat. So now my shape is nice and neat, and I'm going to continue working on the color fade. It's not necessary to stop in the middle to shape up, but I like to because it allows me to see what I'm working with a little bit better, and it takes less time at the end to try and work through a whole bunch of product. So here I'm just going to go ahead and continue on with my color fade and bring it up a little bit higher. So I want the light blue to fade out to a clear, so I'm just pressing it to make it really nice and translucent so that it can fade really nicely into that clear. Now I'm going to make my white, so I'm grabbing my sculpting gel, putting it in a little dish, and adding white acrylic powder to it. Before I lay down my white, I'm going to lay down some blooming gel. So this is going to make my white spread when I lay it down. So I'm just placing it over the areas that I need the white to be. So I'm going to use a liner brush to apply the white lines. This one is a dual-ended brush. One end, it has the liner, and then on the other end, I'll show you here, it has an applicator for any builder gel or gel products. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the liner for this one. This brush will be linked in the description box below. So the white part is going to serve as the bubbles that dissipate at the end of a wave crashing. So I'm drawing some lines down the width of the nail, and then I'm going to spread those out by tapping the insides of them. Here you'll be able to see more of the grainy texture from when I added the acrylic powder to my sculpting gel, but it's going to serve me well because I'm going to use that grainy texture to kind of simulate the bubbles from the wave crashing. Once I'm happy with my placement, I'm going to go ahead and put this under the light for a minute, and then I'm going to add more layers of the white. So I want the edges of my white to be a little bit more solid. So I'm just making a solid white line right at the edges. Then I'm going to put that under the light for about 30 seconds, come back and then add more white. Before I add any more white, I'm going to put a little bit more blooming gel so that way the white will move easier when I add it on. And then I'm going to place the white over top of that. So I added a harder line so that the white is a little bit more opaque. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the blooming gel onto my liner brush and just press into the white to fade it out a little bit better. Now I just want to add a little bit more depth to the portion closest to my cuticle, and I'm just going to use a liner brush and just add little strokes here and there. So I wanted to add a little bit more depth to the deep blue that I have in the back on the back side. So I'm adding this gel color in the navy. This is the color that I added to both of the blues when I was mixing my colors. I'm just gonna put a dot of it on a dampen dish and add it directly from that little dot that I used. So there's no exact way that I'm applying it. I'm just kind of throwing it on there because I'm going to go in with the blooming gel and put little dots of it everywhere so that there's little patches of, you know, that really deep blue. And it's not I don't want a very pretty fade. I want it to be more natural looking. So now I'm going to encapsulate all of the work that I've done. I'm just going to do it from the cuticle to about midway up the nail enhancement. And then I'm going to add a little star decal and encase the rest of it. So you can go ahead and watch from here on out. I'm going to stop talking, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. Here's one trick that I like to use with the nail file. I find my apex and I place the tip of my file on the apex, and then the end of my file closest to my hand, I apply pressure at the tip of the finger, and then I hover it over just that surface area. So I don't go back towards the cuticle area after this point because my apex is in the spot that I need it to be. So if you continuously go back to your cuticle area, you'll keep moving your apex farther and farther forward, or you'll eliminate it completely. So just be careful of that. Also, I do want to mention that later on in the video, you'll see when I spray the nail, you'll see that I drilled the backside closest to my cuticle area a little bit too much. So I did have to go back and add more of that deep blue color right onto it. But I like my, I call it a backside. So I like my backside, which is the area closest to my cuticle. I like my backside to be super, super tapered in. So really nice and faded to my natural nail. So I don't like any sort of bump back there, but that's my own personal preference. You can choose to have that bump if you'd like, as long as it doesn't, you know, touch the skin or cause it to lift in the long run. So mine, I like to be super tapered, so I did that on purpose. So I do like to keep it away from my cuticle and then add the color back in so that I can get it really close to the nail, but also not so close that it looks, close to the cuticle, but not so close that it looks bulky, if that makes sense. So whenever you're working with a clear nail or a translucent or transparent nail, you want to make sure to top coat the underside so that it's super, super shiny all the way through. If you don't, you'll likely get that cloudy look. So if you top coat the underside, it looks great. So here's the final look. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all those things. And I'll see you guys in the next one.
If it's not about Christ, then I'm not involved. It's either you're hot, lukewarm, or cold. Lukewarm or lukewarm or cold. If it's not about Christ, then I'm not involved. I hope you know that my Lord.